Monday Night Football is the Saints and the Chiefs, plus a Week 5 recap. Welcome to the FTN Fantasy Schatz and Tanier NFL podcast for Monday, October 7th, 2024. I'm Aaron Schatz from FTN Fantasy. He is Mike Tanier. Make sure you are subscribing to his Substack, The Too Deep Zone, at miketanier.substack.com. We're going to talk about some big NFL trends, historical teams that are ranking really good or bad historically in a moment. But first, I want to remind you that our sponsor is Underdog Fantasy, because the NFL season is back and there's no better way to play than with Underdog Fantasy. It is the easiest place to play fantasy sports and the fastest growing app in the industry. Underdog offers a new customer FTN special with up to $1,000 matching on your first time deposit. The Underdog app is easy to use. All their weekly contests are back, like the onside kick, the 2-minute drill, and the double doink. Head over to Underdog for a deposit match up to $1,000 when you sign up with code FTN. That is up to $1,000 extra. NFL season is here, and who better to celebrate with than Underdog Fantasy? So I'm writing for ESPN Plus for later this week on sort of early trends of where, teams that stand historically. And that's a good way for us to review some of the biggest games of Week 5. So let's start by talking about the Minnesota Vikings, who are the number 6 best defense in DVOA history through 5 games.
Awesome. And then when I looked at the list, it was like double awesome.
And who are these people? That's the remarkable thing about the Vikings defense, is that if you look at their depth chart, you see some useful players.
Yes.
Jonathan Greenard and Andrew Van Ginkel and Ivan Pace. You see a couple of guys who were top of the league 5 years ago.
Yep.
Stephon Gilmore and Harrison Smith. There is nobody on that roster that I would say is top 5 at their position right now. In fact, I probably would say there's no one on that defensive depth chart, not on the roster, I mean on defense. Obviously, Justin Jefferson is.
Right.
There's no one on defense that I think is top 10 at their position right now. Brian Flores walks on water.
I would say Pace is probably in the top 10. I would say Van Ginkel right now. If you look at edge rusher as this Flores design position where half the time you were slipping back into coverage and doing something kind of like the Patriots did back in the day with guys like Vrabel. That's not how most edge rushers play anymore. I would say Ginkel is one of the top guys in the league at doing that thing. And then you're right. Harrison Smith and Gilmore were top 10 years ago, but they're not now. Gilmore was not playing well until the end of that game. It is a phenomenal defense. And it is baffling some quarterbacks who shouldn't be easy to baffle, like Aaron Rodgers.
They have had one of the 10 hardest schedules in the league so far.
Yes. Packers. 49ers. Texans. These are playoff teams.
Whatever you want to say about the Jets, are a team that we thought were going to be a contender this year. They're not.
Right. They're not like a joke. They're by no means a joke. Right.
Like, this team is playing really well. Now, their offense currently ranks 20th in DVOA. They fell this week. Darnold turned back into a Darnold.
It's September is over.
But that defense is hitting on all cylinders, just like incredibly good this year. This team, it would be very difficult to imagine a collapse where they don't make the playoffs. It's a very competitive division, especially if Caleb Williams has finally gotten it, as opposed to I'm playing the Panthers this week.
Right.
And if Love kind of gets his mojo back, because even though they beat the Rams, Love did not play well.
That was a weird. That was like distilled Brett Favre, where everything was either a 55-yard touchdown pass or a backwards.
Or that horrible pick 6 where it was like, I'm throwing it away. I'm not throwing it away.
Very Levis-like there. And by the way, the Vikings are minus 1,000 to make the playoffs right now. They're a playoff team, obviously, especially because of now the tiebreakers they've assembled. Because, if they're head-to-head against some of these teams, they get the tiebreaker.
Hitchhiker's Pie points out in the comments, one of the 2 members of the 30-sack, 30-pick in his career club. I assume he means Harrison Smith, not Rodney.
Yes.
Not Rodney Harrison.
Harrison Smith.
And don't forget, you could take your questions and comments about anything. If you're watching us on YouTube, I know you can ask questions and make comments when we're here at 11 a.m. every Monday and Thursday. So I think O'Connell is doing a great job. I think that Flores is doing an amazing. I mean,
yes, unquestionable.
It's fun. You hate the fact that in order to make conversation and fill airtime, we have to have awards conversations this early in the season.
Mm-hmm.
But there's 2 awards that, as of now, seem pretty much decided unless something really weird happens.
Mm-hmm.
And that's Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Yes.
And Coordinator of the Year. Like, how do you not vote for Flores?
I agree. I don't mind saying Flores has won Coordinator of the Year. That's great. Let's not have the conversation about whether he gets another head coaching job. We're all in limited sleep here. We don't want to go into that. And as I pointed out this week, let's have a season before we have an off season. And let's see how this really unfolds.
Hitchhiker's Pie says he meant Rodney Harrison when he was talking about players the Patriots would use as drop back as well as rush the passer.
Yeah.
Because Harrison Smith only has 20 sacks and 30 picks.
Okay. And Harrison did it more from the safety position. Vrabel, and there are others. I think McGinnis.
Yeah. Brewski was used like that. Like a lot of guys.
Right. It was not unusual. And it's very old school 3-4 front to say that the edge rusher is actually
right. If you go back like I'm doing and watching a bunch of 80s games, like I've been doing lately, you see like Carl Banks drop into coverage a lot. Right. When Belichick was his defensive coordinator.
Right. It was a different mentality back then. Not that you're just a glorified pass rusher. You did all these things.
So as long as we're talking about greatest and worsts, let's talk about the Cleveland Browns. The 8th worst offense ever measured by DVOA through 5 games. And they are really far behind everyone else. I know that after watching that debacle in Foxborough yesterday, people are like, the Patriots are the worst team in the league. Mm-hmm. My God, the Dolphins' offense sucks. The Cleveland Browns are the worst team in the league right now with an average defense, and their offense. Okay, the Patriots are 30th at -18.
Mm-hmm.
The Dolphins are 31st at -28.
Okay.
The Browns are last at -43.
Oh, my God.
It is awful.
Right.
And yes, Coral Skipper says, sweet, sweet karma.
Karma, kismet. We love
It's hard to figure out. Like, I mean, I have friends in the front office there. I like Stefanski. I like Andrew Berry. Obviously, the whole Watson thing was driven by the owner from the beginning. I think Stefanski has no choice. I don't think Stefanski could go to Jameis Winston if he wanted to, but my God, like it is over. Like Watson is. Yeah. Say what you will about his off the field stuff. On the field, he's not going to ever turn back into that guy from Houston.
I got a couple of things for you. First, Watson is averaging 4.8 yards per attempt this season. 4.8 yards per attempt. That's tied with Bryce Young right now.
Right. That's not net yards per attempt.
No.
That's just yards per attempt without sacks included.
Without the sacks, which would make it even worse. Quarterbacks who averaged less than 5 yards per attempt in recent years included Trevor Siemian last year, Mike Glennon with the 2021 Giants, Bryce Petty, remember him? 2017 Jets, Keith Null with the 2009 Rams, and Doug Peterson, Derek Anderson, and Dorian Thompson-Robinson for the Browns in the past. Brandon Weeden was never this bad. Charlie Fry was never this bad. And I got one other thing to point out. Watson is horrible. One of the things that is happening in the Cleveland Browns right now is a injury rash across their offensive line. They had Wyatt Teller's been out for a while. Jedrick Wills has been in and out of the lineup. Ethan Pochik, their center, just came back. So there are extenuating circumstances. I don't know if you bring in even a Winston or a DTR, you get a better performance right now until they get some of their guys back on the offensive line.
Iceman points out, and you said this today in Too Deep Zone, if Stefanski were to get fired, he would get another job very quickly. You're talking about a guy who's won Coach of the Year twice. So if he wanted to middle finger it to Haslam by playing Winston,
Right.
It's not like he'd be torpedoing his career. Some other team would hire him next year if he got fired.
No, and Haslam couldn't even try to hit him behind the scenes and say, he did this and this. Everyone would see what happened. You're right. Stefanski would be coaching, the Jaguars next year.
The other side of this game, the Washington Commanders, I still think their defense is very bad, even though Watson couldn't do anything against them.
Right.
Jaden Daniels I'm surprised that his DYAR numbers didn't really go up after this week. He had kind of a even keel offensive week. So, he's still the clear, obvious favorite for offensive rookie of the year. What he's doing is still amazing. He's still on pace, I believe, to break the record for rookies in DYAR. And I think they're absolutely for real. I think Washington, as bad as their defense is, I feel like they are absolutely in the hunt for. I still feel like the market favoring the Eagles to win that division is wrong. I think both the Commanders and the Cowboys have a better shot at it at this point.
Even though I know we got a little groggy last night with the Cowboys, but
they did win. They did come away with a win last night.
They came away with a win. And I have the Commanders now. Yeah, this is a playoff team. I don't buy into the Bears just because they beat the by the way, I guess I have to ask this. Are the Seahawks still number one in DVOA?
No, we'll get to the DVOA in a bit, but they have dropped certainly after losing to the Giants is not good.
No. So we can throw them off of the.
They're still high, but they're not that high. Hitchhiker's Pie also points out if you look at adjusted DYAR, which combines rushing and passing, Watson currently has the 19th worst season if he got injured today and didn't play the rest of the year. Right. That is really bad.
Remarkable.
That is really bad. All right, here's the next trend.
Okay.
The Bengals are the fourth best 1-4 team ever. And the Ravens are the sixth best 3-2 team ever.
Okay.
The Bengals are fascinating. Burrow is kicking ass and taking names. Burrow and Jackson. Sorry, let's do it in the correct order. Okay. Jackson and Burrow are currently 1-2 in passing value.
I believe it.
And the Ravens and Bengals are 1-3 in offensive DVOA with Washington between them.
Right.
Chase is number one now in receiving after this week.
Unbelievable game yesterday.
And yet that team is 1-4 because of some bad luck and some close losses and the fact that the defense is 23rd.
The defense is a mess. The defense is having a real problem covering anything on the back end. They don't have that. The pass rush looks like it should be good on paper, and yet you don't see it consistently there. And you're right. This is the more recent problem with them. The beginning of the season, they were asleep on offense, I guess because Higgins was out, and as usual, they were slow on offense.
Right. It was easy to just double cover Chase and be like, great, beat us with Yoshibash. Go ahead, try it.
Right. And yesterday they got super conservative in overtime, which I don't know. I didn't really dig down deep into whether that was the right call. What happened to the other great 1-4 teams, though, Aaron? What are we looking at?
Here's the thing. If you look at the great 2-3 teams, they almost all came back to have winning records and make the playoffs.
Right.
If you look at the really good 1-4 teams, no.
Because
a lot of them just collapsed from there.
Right.
Others of them finished like 8-8.
Yeah.
There are 1-4 teams that came back to make the playoffs, but they're not 1-4 teams that were like surprisingly good in DVOA early. They were 1-4 teams that weren't good early and then turned it around.
Hit us.
Like, for example, Iceman points out the 1993 Oilers.
Okay.
But it's not like you're like, okay, here are the teams that were still positive in DVOA at 1-4, and look, half of them made the playoffs. It's not like that.
It is not like that because you're almost a third of the way through the season right now, and you're 1-4. 2-3 is different. You've got another win in your portfolio that can help you squeeze into the playoffs. Upcoming Bengals schedule looks pretty easy. While say road stand, they get the Giants next week, and they get somebody beatable the week after that who is eluding me. Then they get the Eagles, so it's like chaos on chaos, and then they get the Raiders. They have that chance to crawl back into this, but I don't know how they do that from the hole that they're digging.
Yes, the fact that there are 7 seeds now does help the Bengals out.
Yeah,
right, compared to the past. Interesting in this game, I thought the Ravens were very strong on third down on offense, but the Bengals were also very strong on third down on offense.
Oh God, yeah.
Including Yoshavash had a 39-yarder on a 3rd and 10 that got them got them to the goal line.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the Bengals, given our priors before the season and given how they've played during the season, the Bengals are a good team. Despite being 1-4, right? I am not a believer in the Bill Parcells, you are what your record says you are.
Right.
You were what your record says you were, right? You can't go back into the past and change wins and losses. If your win-loss record is 1-4, that doesn't mean you're a 1-4 quality team going forward.
No.
But it means you're 1-4. You don't get to suddenly go back and change that. So that is hard for them to climb out of this hole.
You are 1-4. You are 0-3 in the AFC. You are 0-3 at home, and 2 of your losses are to the Chiefs and the Ravens, teams that you're going to need playoff tiebreakers against if you're in that 9-8 soup. So yeah, that's what you're facing right now. I agree. I think this is a team that go out and win 9 wins this season, maybe squeak 10 wins this season. They've built an unbelievable uphill battle for themselves.
And then the other big trend to talk about is not as big. This is not ranking as high, but it's a game we should talk about. And that is that the 49ers are the 15th best 2-3 team ever. The 49ers are 2-3. Like, yeah, whatever. Like, Moody got hurt, and so they had to. The strategy was a little different because they didn't have a kicker, and there's no. They should not be doing this, and they're playing better than this. San Francisco is playing better than they're a top 10 team by DVOA, but their special teams have been really bad, except for the blocked field goal.
Right.
They are 20th in rushing. They are 17th in run defense, and their schedule gets harder going forward.
It's not just 2 losses. This would be like if the Chiefs had 3 losses right now and 2 of them were against the Broncos and Raiders. That's what this is like right now. And did you have the post-game win expectancy or the DVOA differential on that Cardinals 49ers game?
Yes, I can give that to you. Hold on one second.
Yeah. The Niners
post-game win expectancy was 66% for the Cardinals.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. Because the Niners moved the ball up and down the field consistently for that entire game, got to the red zone, remembered that their kicker was hurt, and had an absolute hissy fit about it. This is pure Shanahan being like, I don't know what to do. Even though the punter kicked a field goal, I don't know what to do about this. And they just had a complete meltdown. Once was a fumble by Mason, but it looked like he was like, I better get the ball in the end zone now. I better try and break 15 tackles because otherwise we were not going to be able to score points. As a Niners skeptic or troller, it was hilarious. But as a fan, you have to be worried about why the Cardinals were still in the game. I guess that's the question. Why were the Cardinals still in the game?
Well, one thing was they kicked a field goal on a 4th and goal from the 2.
Okay, that's true.
Which you shouldn't do.
Right. And
unless it's like late in the game and you're tied or something, right?
And that was
unless the score demands it.
And that was the one the punter kicked.
No, that was before the Moody was hurt.
Oh, okay. Because they kicked the short one with the punter, but that was right at halftime. That might have been 4th and goal from
that was like one was like 10, like the 33 or something. The one that Wisniewski kicked.
You're not stopping the run particularly well, which has kept the Rams in the game. It really kept the Cardinals in the game. All these things that used to be, the 49ers will have no worry about this. They're little worries now.
Yeah. Coral Skipper says, did Shanahan anger someone in another life that caused him to get a curse that prevents him from closing out games?
Yes, his dad.
I mean, right? The talk is any running back can succeed in the Shanahan system. And after what Mason did the first couple of weeks, we thought, any running back can see. No, 20th in running DVOA.
Right. I think part of it is they get away from it. Part of it was, I think, the fumble, if that counted, that had an impact yesterday. But yeah, they got down to the goal line on one of those drives, and it didn't look like a Shanahan offense anymore. It's like, they're down low and they need to get it in the end zone. I'm waiting for the Debo screen. I'm waiting for the double, counter reverse play. They were doing none of that. They were playing like this conventional drop back offense, and it came back to haunt them.
And their schedule coming up, like I said, their schedule is actually harder the rest of the way. And we still don't know when McCaffrey is coming back. And they go Seattle next week for the division lead, and then Kansas City, and then Dallas.
Oh, my God. Yeah, and then they get their bye.
It's very likely that McCaffrey and Moody are both injured when they play Kansas City in 2 weeks.
Well, they're going to get a kicker. They'll
get a kicker, but probably a Chad Rylandy type that's not as good. I mean, most kickers are kickers and whatever, but still,
Robbie Gould's probably still in shape. He'll be out there with a beer belly.
I don't think there's, there may not be anyone on the waiver wire who can kick 50s. I don't know. We'll see.
But they can kick 35s. And I'm also tired of pretending that Christian McCaffrey is the only injured person in the NFL.
Yes.
Tired of it. The Cowboys went out there with Tank Lawrence hurt, Mike Parsons limit, Brandon Cooks hurt, et cetera, et cetera. We don't talk about the injury situation in Dallas. 49ers. When's McCaffrey coming back? Tired of it.
Yeah. All right. We usually review games with reverse post-game win expectancy. Yes. There was only one this week, and it comes with a bit of an asterisk.
Okay.
And that is the Foxborough debacle, which was 54% Patriots, but that includes those two plays at the end that were sort of meaningless because there was no way that they were going to get the ball down for a field goal in time.
That's right.
For Hail Mary in time. If you take those out, it's like 50-50.
Right. The completion over the middle of the field for 25 yards when there's like 8 seconds left in the clock.
That was the dumbest game. That was one of the dumbest games I've ever seen. I'm not going to say it's the dumb. I'm sure if I go back into it, there are plenty of games with all kinds of
dumb.
Botched field goals and blocked punts and dumb penalties. Both of those teams were, and Mayo is a young coach, and we can talk about why that team is undisciplined, but McDaniel is not.
Right. They should not be helpless. I know it's Snoop Huntley. I know he did not spend camp with them. They should not be helpless. But part of the reason why is because when you build your offense around all of this motion, all these pre-snap adjustments, all these changes, all these play fakes in the backfield, you can't just plug and play a Joe Flacco into that. You have to have somebody who knows all this extra terminology in the huddle to say, okay, well, this is the original formation. Here's the shift. Here's the change. And then when they're doing all the fake handoffs in the backfield, I have to remember, okay, it's fake to this, throw it in the flat. That's all very hard for Huntley to digest, so they're not doing that very well.
Hill was open. Like I was there. I was at the game. I spent a lot of it watching Hill. Like Hill was open. Like there were sometimes it was a zone and Hill was open in the zone. There were some times where he beat Gonzalez. Like Huntley can't get him the ball.
I'm not a vape shop genius like McDaniel, but I feel like let's just force feed Hill would be one of the strategies I would try. I
hate those little wide receiver screens to try to get a guy open in space, but I almost wonder whether it is Tyreek Hill. Maybe they should try a wide receiver screen to get Tyreek Hill open.
Yeah, just do it a couple times. Let it fail, but keep trying it. Keep him happy. Other side of the ball, can you even name Andrews is hurt? Can you even name a lineman right now for the Patriots? You should, because
I watch this team closely, and I have a hard time naming them. Michael Jordan is one of them.
Michael Jordan, who the Bengals gave up on 5 years.
Darian Lowe, I think, is the left tackle now.
City Sal?
City Sal didn't start yesterday, and neither did Robinson, the 4th-round pick. It's a mess. It's just a disaster area.
Right.
And the run blocking is good. Hitchhiker's Pie points out the Patriots passing twice as much as they ran when they're that bad passing and are cromulent rushing is shameful. And I agree. When they got to the 4 downs at the end, they should have at least had one running play, I think, instead of 4 pass plays.
Yeah.
I do hate to say, I feel like the officials made the right decision with the Polk catch. If your heels come down out of bounds, that's out of bounds. But it just shows, like the Isaiah Likely in the first week of the season, game of inches, man, game of inches.
Game of inches, absolutely. And Polk looks like a guy who can come around and help them. But, yeah, more passing meant more hits for Brissett, which they kind of solved by holding later in the game.
There was so much holding. Oh, my God. From both offensive lines, but especially from the Patriots, just a lot of holding.
Yeah.
All right, let's count up the DVOA top 11 because 11 and 10 are very close to each other. So we'll do 11. All right? Number 11 is Washington.
Okay, on the rise, I think.
No defense,
Offense
but great offense.
Okay.
Number 10, still Green Bay.
Okay, weird game. Weird game.
Number 9, Kansas City.
Okay, got tonight.
Number 8, San Francisco.
Okay, yeah, they're out playing opponents.
Number 7, although obviously much better in the first 3 games than the last 2, is the Seattle Seahawks.
Get them out of there.
Number 6 is Houston.
They went a half without holding.
5 is Buffalo. Houston went up 4 spots.
Okay.
But they didn't quite pass Buffalo. Buffalo is 5.
Okay.
Detroit is 4. Had a bye week this week.
Looked really good on Monday night last week. Baltimore
is 3.
Okay.
New Orleans is 2, pending tonight's game. Probably will drop. I think we'll talk about that game in a second.
The Vikings have done it.
The Vikings are number 1. They were number 1 last week after Seattle fell, and they're number 1 this week.
Remarkable. Well earned.
Undefeated. The undefeated Vikings with the fantastic defense are absolutely, and they are the best team right now. If you look at just the last 5 weeks without our priors, they are the best team in the league.
And strength of schedule works in their favor.
Yes, their schedule actually gets easier the rest of the way than it was for the first 5 games.
Right.
Saints and Chiefs tonight. I'm trying to not be all like Mr. Saints, but I feel like this is the kind of game where the Chiefs sleepwalk.
Run the tape. You said that last week. You said that the previous week. I think you've said that every week this year. This is the type of game that the Chiefs lose. I think you've said that every week. Folks, Pickers pie, somebody check on that.
They're going to win. They're going to win by 3 or something.
Oh, I don't mind. I don't mind backdoor cover or like close game cover on the Saints at all.
I mean, I would, if I had to bet this game, I would bet on the Saints plus 5.5.
Yeah, I think I would take it because of that spread and because, again, I don't know what this Chiefs offense without Rashee Rice is going to look like. I'm trying to pull up the receiving props to see what's available. Noah Gray receiving props. Literally, that's what there's Kelsey and Worthy. Like the Juju Smith-Schuster prop is over 1.5 catches. The house doesn't know what this offense is going to look like tonight.
Yeah, the Chiefs have struggled in the red zone this year. The Saints defense has been fantastic in the red zone, but I don't know how predictive that is.
Right.
The Chiefs have only been 25th against deep passes. So maybe a Rashid Shaheed night.
Shaheed and Olave has been getting open deep. I know he had some plays called back, but he's still there.
And Hitchhiker's Pie points out Mahomes now has a negative DVOA on the season and is in his first game. No, is this the first game without Rice or the second game?
Yes, this is the first game. Rice was
first game fully without Rice. Yeah, because he had Rice at the beginning of the last game.
Right, and that's what's makes this so hard to prognosticate.
I mean, knowing the Chiefs and the feeling that we all have that the Chiefs are going to pull everything out, it does feel like they should win, but 5.5 is a lot of points. The Saints have been pretty good. I mean, and I don't know what's up with the Chiefs offense right now. So I guess if I was going to bet this game, I would bet Saints plus 5.5.
Right. Don't forget, though, this is the toughest defense the Saints have faced. We always just overlook the Chiefs defense. We'll overlook the Chiefs offensive line, which is very strong despite some issues at left tackle.
The Chiefs defense doesn't have the injuries that the offense has.
Right, exactly. So they're out there, and they've been a big part of these wins going back to last year.
And the offensive line for the Saints is a mess.
Yes. And Derek Carr is still their quarterback.
So Karlaftis and Felix, what his name? I don't remember his last name. The second-year kid from Kansas City. They're going to get through, and there's going to be some pressure here.
Agreed. But I still like the cover.
There'll be pressure here. It'll make Carr do something bad, and then they'll lose by 3.
Right. There you go. We figured it out.
All right. That does it for today's show. We're here every Monday and Thursday. This Thursday, Mike is off. Brian Knowles will be joining me, but that is not an excuse to not read Mike Tanier's Substack. Make sure you are reading it at miketanier.substack.com. I'll have quick reads up later today on the FTN DVOA page. Again, We're here Mondays and Thursdays at 11 a.m. Eastern. I hope everybody enjoys Monday Night Football, and I will talk to you again on Thursday. So long, everybody.